Okay, so we talked about our SOHCAHTOA. That's the phrase we use for our trigonometric functions. That's hard to say. So we said sine is opposite over hypotenuse. What is cosine? Cosine. What is cosine? You're right, hypotenuse is involved. That's the bottom one. What, does anybody remember what does A stand for? Adjacent, next to, touching the reference angle, over hypotenuse, and then tangent is what over what? What is O? Opposite over adjacent. Okay, so now we're in the part where we're using our ratios to find the missing sides. I'll give you a second to get caught up. Somebody made a face. ADJACENT. And what do we say adjacent means? Dudes, put the cell phones away until after review. What did we say adjacent means? I literally said it like a minute ago. Adjacent means next to. Touching is a side next to. But opposite is not touching. So adjacent is the side next to the reference angle, touching the reference angle. Okay. Use trigonometric ratios to find the missing sides. So here's my reference angle. Let's go ahead and label which one is our hypotenuse.
The longest one, so like go left.
Yeah.
Right there.
If we're having trouble telling which one is longest, what is our other way of determining the hypotenuse? It's opposite which angle? Yeah, the right angle. So if this is our reference angle, which one is our opposite side? 13 or x? 13. Then that makes this adjacent. Okay, now we can do some math. If we look, what two ones do we have? So if I look at x, okay, so which one of these functions has an adjacent and opposite in it? Look up at your SOHCAHTOA. Which one of these has both opposite and adjacent? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Tangent. So the tangent of 50 degrees equals, which one's going on top? $13, because that's my opposite. Like, what did we're looking at our side, right? So our bottom is x. Then remember, we put this over 1. That helps us to turn it, when we turn it to a proportion, we can cross multiply and solve. Grab this, we are gonna, yeah. So if I cross multiply, that gives me tan 50x. Let me put the x in parentheses so we know that that's times x. Equals 13 times 1, which is what? 13 times 1 is what? Yep, or in parentheses. 13 times 1 is what? Levi, what is 13 times 1? Yes, 13. So the tangent of 50 times x is 13. What is the last step on this to find x? Divide by what? No, because we don't have a square in this. We're multiplying x by the tangent of 50, so we have to divide both of these by the tangent of 50, which is, you have to know how to use the calculator. So, I'll give you guys a chance to write that down, and then we'll walk through how to do it on the calculator. Jeez, that's hot. Okay. I want every single person to have their calculator out and do this with us, because this is where people have the most trouble. So we have our calculator. We are dividing 13 by the tangent of 50. So we start with 13, and we click our divide just like normal. Then if we look, we have our sine, cosine, and tangent buttons. We're going to click tangent. So the TAN. So 13 divided by, we're going to click tangent and then 50. And we're going to go ahead. I want us to get in the habit of closing parentheses. So it's right next to the divide button. It's a TAN. So your calculation would look like this. 13 divided by tan of 50. And then we just hit enter. And what does that give us? We're going to go to the first decimal, so 10.9. If you, again, if there is a rounding error, if you wrote down 11, if you rounded it to 11, I would count it. No, there's no square. Oh, you mean the box. I'm sorry. I thought you meant square root. All right, let's find our hypotenuse. We have two ways we can find this. We could do hi. Hi. We have two ways we can do this. We could use Pythagorean theorem, or we could use our trigonometric ratio. So we're not going to worry about the hypotenuse, but if I asked you to find it, you could use either your trigonometric ratio or you could use Pythagorean theorem. Honestly, I think the Pythagorean theorem is easier, just because we have more practice at it, but that's just me. We're not going to worry too much about it. All right, let's go to number 14. Very good. Remember, opposite's the one we can draw the line to.
Oh, I was looking at the whole thing.
Yep, so our reference angle is always going to be, it's not the right angle. It's always going to be whichever angle we have a measurement for. Yep, it's never going to be the right angle. So then that makes this A. Okay, so I want to find, let's start with T. So what measurements do I have? We have H, O, A. So let's look. So we have, if we're going with T, which side do we have labeled already with a number? H. So we have O and H. Let's go back up to our SOHCAHTOA. Where do we see O and H? The sign. So our sign of what? What's our degree on our reference angle? So our sine of 51 equals what over what? Look at the order. What is sine is what over what? Opposite over hypotenuse. So what is O? It's our T. What is H? 32. Again, we just stick this over 1. So when we cross multiply, we end up with the sine of 51 times 32 equals, what's t times 1? What's t times 1? T. So this one's really easy. We just have to multiply these numbers and we're good.
Are there going to be questions like that from like actually on time?
Yep. So let's look. So we have our sine button. And I'm trying to see get the calculator and the equation in. So sine of 51. This is where it is very important you close these parentheses. If you do not close your parentheses, you will not get the right answer. Because instead of taking the sine of 51 and multiplying that by 32, if you don't close your parentheses, it's going to give you the 51 times 32 and the sine of whatever that unholy number is. So close your parentheses, and then you can just write 32. So practice putting that in your calculator. Make sure you get the same number I get, because this is probably where the most mistakes are going to be made on this section of the test. I want to see every person with their calculator. Mr. I'm not sleeping on the floor. Hey, purple shirt. Calculator. Practice putting this in your calculator. Then it shouldn't take you long to practice. The more you do it, the easier it is to remember on the final. Yeah. No. Let me, and this is why I want you guys to practice. Let me see what you did. Right here. All because of you guys. Practice putting that in. Make sure you get, because this is where the most mistakes were made, is putting it into the calculator. So I want everybody to practice this. Including you, Mr. Red Shirt over there on your happy pink cell phone. Mm-hmm. Yes. So then you put your, as it's written, 51. Okay.
Look at her calculator right there.
It might be hard to see. Okay. Nope. Clear that up. Sine 51. Close the parentheses. Then 32. We're multiplying by 32. So we're entering this. Sine of 51. Close our parentheses. And then we're going to put 32. There you go. If I'm rounding to the nearest, to the first decimal place, what am I? Very good, 24.9. So T equals 24.9. Yes? Is it an emergency? Is it, can you wait until we're done with?
Let it out, boy.
No, go to the bathroom. I don't need it in this room. Oh my God. Okay. Let's look at U. So, U is what letter? So we have our A and our H. Which function is A and H?
COS.
Yep, the cosine. So our cosine of what? Oops, that's it.
51.
The cosine of 51 equals, what are we plugging in for adjacent? No. What are we plugging in for adjacent? U. Thank you.
32 over.
What's our hypotenuse?
32.
Again, we stick this over 1, turn it into a proportion, makes it infinitely. Yep, we're going to cross multiply. So our cosine of 51 multiplied by 32 equals, what is u times 1? What is u times 1? U. You're right. And then we just type it in. Very good. So again, everybody needs to practice this. So we hit our cosine button, which is right here in the middle. Did you forget to close your parenthesis?
No. Because when I type in cosine. Oh, no, we don't put the 50.
So cosine of 51, close your parenthesis.
0, wait, no.
What 40.2?
So this is what it should look like.
Then why is the 32 an R?
Well, that's because that's how we, when we're multiplying them, that's how we write it.
Oh, okay. See, that's what I was doing.
So, yep, 20.1.
Oh, not that.
You know this is being recorded, right? You know this is being recorded, right? Okay, does everybody understand how we, is that a question or a stretch? May I suggest glasses? Okay, I was trying to make sure everybody knew how to put it in the calculator because that's honestly, as if you can label these and you can plug and play, the calculator is the hardest part. All right, I'll give you guys a second to get caught up, and then we will. I don't even want to know. Okay. Ah. All right, flipping over in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right. We're on the last part. This is what we literally just got finished with.
No, bro.
Which is part of this. These should not take long. We just got finished with them. They're not super complicated. I don't think so anyway. Y'all might be different. All right. What is the formula for finding the sum of the interior angles of a polygon? That's not a formula. That's a shape. That's the Pythagorean theorem. There's paper towels right there. What is a formula? This is in everybody's notes. We just got finished with this. For the love of all that is good and holy, please put this. No, that's the Pythagorean theorem.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know the other.
Okay. The sum of interior angles of a polygon. That's if it's a triangle. That's if it's a quadrilateral. How, if we don't know? Oh, Lord have mercy.
I don't know.
Okay, remember this one? We just got done with it. N minus 2 times 180. And what do... Oh. Remember, they're having class next door. Don't bang on the door. What does N stand for?
9 and 9.
The number of sides.
That's what I'm saying.
The number of sides minus 2. Me too, but yet here we are. Okay. Number of sides minus 2 times 180. All right. What is the sum of the exterior angles of a polygon regardless of how many sides it has? It will always be the same number. The sum of the exterior angles, 360. Okay. let's look at how we find the missing angles. So what's the first thing we need to know? Well, let's start with what kind of angles are these? Are these interior or exterior? So what do we need to know so we can find the missing angle? We have to figure out what these need to equal. How are we going to do that? So let's practice finding, because you're right, if it's a quadrilateral, it's 360. We see that enough that we have it memorized. I can't guarantee that the final is going to have a quadrilateral. So let's practice using our formula. How would we apply this formula to this shape? No. What is n for this shape? No. N stands for what? How many sides are there? Thank you.
That makes more sense.
What's 4 minus 2?
4. What?
What's 2 times 180? 360. So 360 equals 108 plus 121 plus 59 plus x. If I add all of these together, they equal 360. Maybe it doesn't like you. If you tell yourself that, then you're right, you're not. So we bring down our 360.
I'm the smartest person in the world.
Oh, yeah, right.
What? You just said if I told myself that I am. What do you mean?
Fair enough. You got me there. So we're going to add these 3 numbers together. Stick that in your calculator. Tell me what you get. When we combine our like terms, when we add these together, what number do you get? Yes. But right now we're adding these 3 numbers together, and I'm waiting for somebody to tell me what they equal when I add them together. So 360 equals 288 plus x. What's our last step to get x by itself? Subtract. So put that in your calculator. 360 minus 288.
Wait. Hey, what was that?
Sorry, I have an itch. I don't know if it...
Okay.
360 minus 288, what is it? 72. X equals 72. That was way more painful than it needed to be. Now, if you know that the interior angles add up to 360, you could do a shortcut. You could do 360 minus 108 minus 121 minus 59. That method will also work. The reason we did it this way is if you're not sure how to solve it, the best thing to do is say, what do I know? I know that these added together equal 360. So just do that and plug X in for your missing number. All right. Number 16, interior or exterior angles. Exterior, so they all add up to what? 360. Because we said up here that the exterior angles all add up to 360. So this one's even easier because we have less calculating to do. So same thing, 360 equals so then let's figure out what these are. Add those 3 numbers together, tell me what you get. Put it in your calculator. What do you get? You with your head on your desk. Put it in your calculator. So 249 plus x. What's the last step? What's our last step? Subtract 249 from both sides. So somebody put 360 minus 249 in your calculator. X equals 111. Good. I'm just saying, next year, you guys will get to do a lot more algebra. You guys get to do logarithms. 249, yes. Give you guys a second to get caught up. Cool story, bro. What does that have to do with math? There you go. It's a math game. Honestly, a lot of games can help with math just because they involve problem solving. That's what a lot of math is being able to look at something and say, how do I solve the problem? All right, flipping over to the last page. Home stretch. Y'all pay attention. This one shouldn't be hard. Okay. First, how many sides does this have? 8. It is, just for grins, what kind of shape is it? No. What animal has 8 tentacles? Look.
Octagon.
Octagon. So I'm just gonna, when in doubt, I just number my sides. But again, we know this has 8 sides. So first we have to find the sum of the interior angles. How are we going to find the sum of the interior angles? We have no numbers. What is our formula to find the sum of the interior angles? We just did it. You on the floor who's not asleep. What is our formula to find the interior angles? We just did it on the previous problem. Close. N minus what? No. N minus 2 times 180. What is N? Number of sides, which is 8. So 8 minus 2 times 180. You could even put it in your calculator exactly like this, as long as you get your parentheses in the right place. But just for grins, what's 8 minus 2? Please tell me you guys can do this one. 6. 6 times 180. Stick that in your calculator. Tell me what you get. Whack, whack. I want you to put this in your calculator. Tell me what you get. $10.80. So the sum of the interior angles is 1080. What is the sum of the exterior angles of this figure? What is the sum of the exterior angles of this figure? What is the sum, Stefan? What is the sum of the exterior angles of this figure? That's the interior. The exterior angles of any 360. There we go. Now, this is a regular octagon. What does regular mean? It doesn't mean it's had its fiber. What does it mean? All the angles are what? Equal, congruent. What about the sides? Equal. So this is an easy one. If every single one of these 8 angles has the same measure, and they all together have to equal 1080, how am I going to solve this? If each one altogether, they equal 1080, they all have the same measurement, how am I going to solve this? Yeah, by what?
Are you sure we're recording?
Yes, we are recording. It says recording right here on the screen. What are we dividing by? What by what? No, this is interior. 1080 divided by what? How many angles are there?
Oh, 8.
8. This is the shortcut. We seem to have a mental block on this, so here is one other way we can do this. The other way we could do this is say that 1080 equals x plus x plus x plus x 5, 6, 7, 8. We could do that. If you can't remember to divide, and then that gives us 1080 equals 8x, divide both sides by 8. It gets us to the same place. If you can't remember to divide 1080 by 8, you could do this or say 1080 equals 8x and then divide. Gets you to the same point if that helps you remember better. So what is 1080 divided by 8? So each one of those angles is 135 degrees. Almost. Sorry, this should have gone up here. What measure of exterior angle? How am I going to find an individual exterior angle? Again, they're all the same. So what do I need to do? Same process we just used. No. Divide what by what? Okay, 8's one of the numbers. What's the other one? Exterior angle. Exterior angle, right here. 360 divided by 8. Because all together they have to equal 8. I mean, they have to equal 360. There's 8 of them. They all equal the same thing, so we're dividing by 8. What does that give us? Levi, stick that in your calculator. 360 divided by 8. Tell me what you get. 360 divided by 8. Nope. Not even in the ballpark. And with that, we are done.
That is a wrap. Done.
Final will be on Wednesday, Thursday.